Good evening, everybody. Welcome to One Hub Racing in association for Next Level Racing for what will be a delightful night for one driver around the Marina Bay circuit. This is round 5 of the Podium tier season 15. It is the Singapore Grand Prix. Luke and Liam bringing you the action once again for what is, Liam, sure to be a very demanding Grand Prix for all the drivers.
Yeah, Singapore, one of the most challenging tracks on the calendar for everybody. It's one of those tracks where it's very strict on corner cutting as well as very demanding on the drivers. You've got to be constantly paying attention to what's going on so you don't make a mistake.
Yes, definitely. 23 corners around here and 31 laps. It is sure to be tough. We have seen many incidents over the years here. Quite a few drivers saying it could just be a point of getting to the finish, and you might get yourself in the points if you do that. For those who weren't with us last week, it was a bit of a change up to the regular running order that you've seen in Podium tier, as Chris took his first victory of the season from pole position, driving superbly in a wet, dry qualifying and race. Championship leader Eva Hannon found himself involved in a few incidents, and we'll go over them a bit later because they were brought to the stewards, but he managed to recover to secure a 5th position. And the two Reynolds of Nicky and TC joined Chris on the podium respectively with a 2nd and a 3rd place. We've seen a few races this season where Eva Hannon has been winning. The other drivers have got close to him, but last time was the first time where he hasn't looked outright the fastest driver.
Yeah, last week, well, the first few races we saw a few cracks in how dominant he was, but last week just showed how, with a bit of luck, other drivers can really take it to him, and like Kristen last week, he just walked away with it.
Yeah, it was a very dominant performance from Chris. Kept it all nice and calm, especially with the early safety car. Just quickly run you through the championship standings. Eva Hannon still has a 30-point lead in the Drivers' Championship. Nicky, that is only 4 points ahead of Astronaut, and then you've got Jonas Ulrich and Chris not too far behind. The top 5 looking to be breaking away slightly from Gazaman, who is currently in 6th position. Few drivers did get their best results last time. We already mentioned TC getting his first podium of the season, the first time he's actually finished in the top 10. And it was a great result as well for Rich in the Toro Rosso, finishing in 4th place. He sort of went under the radar last week, but he kept it nice and clean, and it was a very good result from him.
Yeah, that just shows what happens if you're able to keep it clean for the entire race, stay out of incidents with other people. You keep it clean, you get a good result.
Yes, definitely. And tonight could very well be one of those nights around the Singapore Grand Prix circuit. First raced in 2008. Famous Crashgate race. Hopefully there'll be no teammate shenanigans going on tonight. I'm sure all our drivers are far too honest to be getting caught in any of that. The track has remained largely unchanged. We've seen a few changes in the middle sector, the Singapore Sling disappearing, and a few changes before the Anderson Bridge, but it definitely hasn't made the track any less challenging. Should be a really interesting qualifying and race, and it looks like the qualifying is going to be a dry. That will be a relief for all the drivers after the past 3 races.
Oh, definitely, especially around Singapore. You don't want it to be raining. It's a nightmare in the dry, so in the wet it's going to be even worse for the drivers.
Yes, also, if it's raining, it'd be very unsurprising with rain and probable safety cars that will be caused by the rain if you've got a race distance time-wise of over an hour. Although I've said it's not going to rain, Gaza has just said, oh no. And really, it's going to be a wet race.
Oh.
So that spiced everything up. That might explain why everyone is out on soft tyres, because another point I was going to make about this circuit, 3 tyres as always, soft, medium and hards. The softs are pretty much useless for anything more than 1 or 2 laps, so could see a lot of drivers using them in this qualifying session if it's going to be wet in the race.
Yeah, definitely. If it's a wet race, that's definitely going to throw a spanner in the works for these guys. So actually, they were just hoping and praying for it to be a dry race and a dry quali. But with the rain in the race, this is going to be, well, it's going to be different to what they've planned for. They're going to have to be on their toes then today.
Yeah, the drivers were asked in the pre-race interviews about how they've coped with the setups on the car, because a lot of times we've had dry races being preceded by a wet qualifying, and a few of the drivers have said, unsurprisingly, that they set up all their cars for it to be dry, given that's how it is in the race. But obviously, with it being a wet race, you'll expect them to be a bit slower in this qualifying session, especially on the straights, and it'll be interesting to see, therefore, who's got the best outright pace in this qualifying session, because a reminder for everyone, all 4 qualifying sessions so far, whoever has qualified on pole has gone into win the race. But with it looking like it could be wet, that might change tonight.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it really depends on how long the rain lasts for during the race. So they may go for the dry setup, banking on it drying up like halfway through or towards the end of the race, just so they can get the chance to get on those slick tyres towards the end.
Yes, definitely. Everyone will still have to make 2 pit stops, even if it is a dry race, even if it is a wet dry race, I should say. We are on board now with Ivahanen. I said I was going to mention the incidents from last week. Ivahanen found himself facing the wrong way down the pit lane, almost Grosjean-esque, on lap 1, turn 1. He was also involved in an incident with Indecisive Mac later on in the race. Both of them were took to the stewards. Both were dealt with no further action. One incident which has had huge repercussions on the lineup in this podium tier was that we saw on the lap 1, we didn't quite catch what happened on stream between Schumacher in the Ferrari and Truth NRP in the McLaren. However, from that, Schumacher has now accrued enough penalty points that he has been removed from the league, and he has been replaced tonight by Stevie Hart, making his return to One Hub. The last time he raced for One Hub was season 9 back on F1 2016.
Yeah, well, it's good to see some of the old guard returning to One Hub, so we'll keep an eye out on him to see how he compares to the rest of these guys tonight.
Yeah, definitely. We've also got Zach Jarvis in the Toro Rosso. He's replacing Mr. Stim. He's been in the podium tier the last few seasons, so we'll have to see what he can do. He's already invalidated this qualifying lap, proving just how tough of a track it is. On board now with the McLaren of Jonas Ulrich. The winner of the driver of the day last time finished 4th out on track, but unfortunately for him, penalties knocked him down to 7th place. But it's still been a great performance from him and a good championship from the McLaren driver so far, returning to the podium tier. He's currently in 4th place on 48 points as he now comes heading towards turns 22 and 23. It's very tricky to get those corners right, and it is a difficult pit entry at this circuit.
Yeah, the pit entries, it's one of the unique pit entries on the calendar, Singapore. It is quite challenging to get the car turned in and slowed down for that pit entry, so it presents quite a challenge to some of the drivers, as well as the exit. It's quite a sharp turn to stop you from going out onto the racing line, so you've got to be aware of what you're doing in the pit lane.
Yeah, definitely. I think I remember Nico Rosberg one year back when he was at Williams spinning out on the exit of the pit lane, so obviously losing time because of that, and then get a penalty for going out of the white line. A bit of double jeopardy for Nico that year around. So at the moment it is TC13 fastest with a 1:36.7, and as I say that, Chris has gone fastest with a 1:34.744. That is a lot faster than what pole position was last season by Nexus Iceman, who went on to win this race in season 15 from Boris and Azamata. He set a 1:35.9, so it's perhaps unsurprising to see a big improvement from Chris, given the fact that Nexus Iceman set that time on the medium tyres, as it was predicted to be a dry race. But Chris is showing fantastic form once again.
Yeah, Chris showing he's not let off from Austria last week, and he's just going to keep on going and take the fight to Ivahanen possibly. So it could be a close battle for the win between those two, so that's going to be an interesting battle that will unfold.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a fascinating championship, I feel. We're on board with Alex Lelliard at the moment. Alex in the Racing Point. Racing Point not having a great season, it's fair to say so far. Only picking up 1 point from Jess. There's top 10 outside the top 10 fastest lap in Bahrain, round 1 of the season, and she's definitely not looking forward to this circuit. She says she's not a fan of street circuits, and thankfully for us, she has sent a weather report to us. We've got light rain at 20 minutes, followed by heavy rain at 45 minutes. So it looks as though the race is actually going to start dry, but they might be able to ditch those dry tyres pretty early on.
Yeah, so looks like we're having a dry start to the race, but it's going to rain halfway through and get heavier as time goes on. So that is definitely not what these guys were hoping for. So they're going to have to adjust their setups accordingly, so they have enough downforce when the rain comes, so they're not struggling.
Yeah, definitely. They have to be nice and careful. We're now going on board with Aaron, and it's fair to say Ferrari haven't had the best season so far in podium tier. Aaron scoring all of the points out of the two drivers in the Ferrari. He is currently 8th in the championship on 16 points. Hasn't scored any since round 2 of the season. That's been mentioned by Jamie that Ferrari have had a bit of a struggle this year, and with having to lose Schumacher so early on, not ideal for them. But Aaron, we know he's a class driver. Do you think this might be the race where we see him starting to come good? I mean, last season this was a race where Boris finished second, and he then went on a mighty run for the rest of season 14. Could we see Aaron or maybe another driver use this race as a catalyst to kickstart their championship challenge in the second half of the season?
I don't see why they can't. If they can keep it clean and get a good enough result, I don't see how they're not able to get the result they want and probably push on to maybe come into a title contending fight. So we'll just have to wait and see, because this is the last race before our 1 week mid-season break. So drivers will have the opportunity to move team after this race before our next race in 2 weeks' time, but we've also got the charity race to look forward to next week as well, so we still have someone have to tune into next week.
Yeah, for those of you who aren't aware, we are holding a charity race next week in aid of OneHub's official charity, the Mental Health Foundation. It'll be Kieran and Austin taking you through that action, and it will be a 100% distance, 67-lap race around the Hockenheim circuit, so I'm fairly sure the weather will be similar to what we've seen at the actual 2018 and 2019 Grand Prix. We are now going to go on board with Jess, one of OneHub's race premium drivers, for a lap of this Singapore circuit, heading now round the first few corners, keeping it nice and clean through 3. 4 is just a little flat out kink, and then you've got turn 5, where you might even see a few drivers risk an overtake in the race. If they do, though, they might be compromised all the way down this straight along Raffles Boulevard, heading now flat through turn 6 and into turn 7. Heavy braking, it's one of the widest points of the circuit, so expect to see a lot of overtaking around there. Then coming into turn 9, these 90-degree corners, a feature of many street circuits, and Singapore is no different. Keeping it careful now, heading up towards what was the Singapore Sling chicane, still known by that name, but just a more normal left-hander now at turn 10. You've got to keep it tight over to the left-hand side of the track, ready for 11 and 12. Heading over the Anderson Bridge now, short braking at turn 13. Heading round that corner now, you've got to be careful around turn 13. You might get mugged by an overtake. We saw Felipe Massa do that to Bruno Senna the other year. Turn 14, another tight right-hander as well. Very easy to run wide on the exit of that corner and lose part of your front wing. There we've got another section of 90-degree corners through 15, 16, 17. Heading now underneath the grandstand after you've turned out of turn 18. It's a very tight and twisty final sector here. Very easy, especially once your tyres are wearing, to get it wrong and end up in the barriers. Turn 21, you want to go over as far over to the right-hand side as possible to give yourself the best possible entry into 22, and then heading flat through 23. And Jess at the moment, 12th position, down to 13th straight away with a 1:42.665. It's still Chris at the top though. Might have been on the soft tyres, but he's 2 seconds ahead of Astronaut here at the moment. That is an astounding margin.
Yeah, it's just showing how quick Chris really is and how he's not really been performing the first 2 races, but he took the step up last week and he's shown just how quick he is. Well, the last 2 weeks really. He put on a show for us in China, but was really unlucky with some of his moves, and he got damaged as well. So he took what he learned from China and put on an absolute dominant show in Austria. So I think he's carrying that form over to this week.
Yes, definitely. I think Ivahanen might be looking over his shoulder because Chris is looking mightily good. He's stuck behind Dexter at the moment, and in doing so, he's invalidated his lap. Dexter, he's on his first hot lap. Best result so far this season. Oh, 5th position, and he's gone 7th at the moment with a 1:37.609. I think he'll be fairly happy with that on those medium tyres. Rich has now moved up into 2nd place, and TC has also just get ahead of Astronauti. And TC, his last 2 qualifying sessions have been astounding, and he did very well in Austria, taking 3rd position in what was a very mature performance from a one-hub debutant.
Yeah, definitely. Especially in your one hub, in your first season at one hub, that's quite the feat to just go on an absolute dominant run like that. Especially around the track like Austria, where it's usually pretty close as well. So, well done to Chris for stepping up after a little bit of a disappointing start and showing that he could really contend for this title.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be an interesting final few races after the break next week. Following TC round now, I think he might be heading back to the pits. Just 5 minutes 30 remaining. Now, a few drivers were asked about street circuits and which were their favourite, and a lot of drivers did say this was their favourite street circuit out of the traditional 3, which is this, Monaco and Baku. You've had plenty of experience driving around them. Which one would you say was your favourite out of all those street circuits, Liam?
If I'm being honest, I'd say probably Baku. It's the most, in my opinion, it's on most of the track, it's the most forgiving of the 3, but in certain sections like the castle, it's not so forgiving, but I prefer it to Singapore. It's easier to drive for some drivers, but Singapore, I can see why people like Singapore. It does present a unique challenge being a night race at a street circuit, so I can see why people like this track.
Yeah, definitely. Nicky said he's not a fan of street circuits, but he actually thought Baku was the worst, and I'm going to be honest, I kind of agree with him. You could even argue maybe that the next race after the mid-season break, Canada, is a street circuit around the Older Notre Dame in Montreal. If I'm being honest, out of all the street circuits that have been on F1 games, as Gazaman has gone very deep on the escape road, and that is something the stewards have warned the drivers about, being careful when they're rejoining on track. It could become a bit of a melee if we end up with the predicted weather conditions. I really enjoyed the Valencia circuit back on the PS3 F1 games. It wasn't the best for racing, but I really enjoyed driving around there.
Yeah, Valencia was an enjoyable circuit to drive. It's a shame that it just didn't catch on with some F1 fans, and that's really why it just didn't work out. I also didn't provide that great racing either, so I can see why they did get rid of it, but it was an enjoyable track to drive around.
Yeah, definitely. We've got Schumacher here in the chat, so thanks for joining us. And he agrees with me on Valencia, so maybe we'll see it in 2020. Who knows what could happen with the F1 season this year, although I think, judging by the last pictures I saw of that circuit, they'd have to do a lot of work in it. We've got Pizza Parker saying that he feels like Chris is trying to do what he did last year. Pizza Parker setting a very high qualifying time last year on the soft tyres. We've got a yacht of yellow flags. Chris is going around on the mediums now, and he's gone purple in Sector 1. His best time was on the soft tyres. Could he go even faster on these mediums?
It's looking very much like he could go faster here, so we shall keep an eye on how he finishes. Going back to the earlier discussion of street circuits, you could also say that Albert Park in Melbourne is technically a street circuit as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think I've mentioned before in some other leagues, if you want to see just how much they have to transform Albert Park for the race, have a look on Google Street View. It is amazing how different the pitch straight looks in normal conditions. I suppose you can be very open with the discussion of street circuits. I mean, back in the 1950s, most circuits in Formula 1 were street circuits. You've got Pescara, the longest track ever used in Formula 1 in Italy, which I'm surprised was given a safety certificate back in the 1950s. Never mind today. Nürburgring is technically public roads. Spa, half of that was public roads. Obviously, outside of F1, you've got Le Mans, and Chris has gone faster with a 1:34.678. That is 1.5 seconds faster than the nearest medium tyre runner, which is currently Ivahanen. Where has this pace come from?
I think he's definitely learned his lesson from the earlier parts of the season, and he's taken it on the chin, and he's just constantly probably been practicing quite a lot, improving as much as he can, just driving himself, and it's gotten to where he is. He's just shown how quick he is, and I do believe that he can take this title fight to Ivan Hannon.
Yeah, definitely. Still 6 races to go, and the most a driver can get in any race, obviously 26 points with a win and a fastest lap. And with the gap being as it is at the moment, Chris currently in 5th position. He's the highest of our race premium drivers. He's 42 points behind Ivan, and that gap could close very quickly as Zach has gone straight on at the moment. That is turn 7. He's retired from the session, currently in 10th position. He'll be pretty happy with that, with his return to one hub in the Toro, so replacing Mr. Stim at the moment. We are getting towards the end of this qualifying session. His teammate Rich is currently in 2nd position. He's just backed off his lap, so he won't be able to improve. We've got TC just starting a hot lap. Truth NRP, he's starting one as well, currently in 7th position. Looking further down the field, Riley and Nicky yet to set a lap time. They are leaving it really late here.
In fact, starting a lap right now.
Yeah, I don't think Riley's not going to make it round, so he's going to be starting in last position, most likely, unless Nicky obviously invalidates this one and only opportunity he's going to get at qualifying. Interesting tactic, leaving it very late, but if it's going to be a wet race, qualifying probably even less important than it usually is.
Yeah, definitely. If it's going to be an interchangeable condition race, you're obviously going to want to be on the freshest tire as possible, so I can understand why qualifying wouldn't be as important to some drivers, but leaving it very late opens yourself up to quite a bit of risk, because if you invalidate your lap, you're not going to get another chance to set one, so really down to if you can keep it from invalidating or not.
Yeah, definitely. We've got Truth NRP, I think, has gone straight on, just coming over the Anderson Bridge, so he's currently in 8th place. He'll be happy with that qualifying position. TC now coming around on soft tyres. He's improving on his personal best. Can he challenge Rich for the front row? Because unless he pulls off a mighty final sector, an inhuman final sector, there's no way he's going to be challenging Chris for pole position. The checkered flag is out, and TC 1,000th off, getting on the front row. He has gone into 3rd place at the moment. Aaron has moved up into 5th, and Jonas Ulrich, he's improving as well. The McLaren currently in 7th place. Kingan, Dexter, Catboy Key in 11th. Decent qualifying from the Haas driver. We've seen Nicky going up to 5th with his one and only lap. Both Renaults looking mightily good again, but Jonas Ulrich, he's coming around the final few corners. It's only Alex behind him now, I believe, who is on a hot lap, so this is going to be interesting. Can Jonas Ulrich get himself towards the front row of the grid? It's an improvement, moves up to 6th position.
Alex, through the final corner, what time is it going to be? It's going to be a 1:38.1. Where is that going to put him?
I think I saw him 13th. 13th, so steady improvements from Alex, who I think it's fair to say, and he'll admit, hasn't had the best start to his one-hub career. But one man who has, with a 2nd pole position in a row, it is Chris. 1.312 seconds. That is definitely one to take a picture of, ladies and gentlemen. That is a huge gap. I don't think I've ever seen one bigger in my commentary career. TC and Eva Hannon rounding out the 2nd row. We've got Nicky in 5th, Jonas Ulrich 6th, Aaron doing well to get up into 7th in the latter moments of that qualifying. Astronautic 8th, Truth NRP 9th, Kingan in 10th. He'll be looking for a good result. And then it's Dexter, Catboy Key, Alex, Zach, Gazaman, Stevie Hart, Jess Gamer, Indecisive Mac, and Riley not setting a time in that qualifying session. And Riley, things haven't gone well for him, you could say, at a few races. He's had some bad luck, but then obviously tonight not being a brilliant qualifying session for him. He scored points in every race. He might actually be pretty happy that there's going to be some rain here, because he's going to need to move quite a long way up the order.
Yeah, definitely. The rain is definitely going to be able to help him move through the field if he times his stop right. So, depending on how quick or late the rain arrives, that could really make or break his race, because he hasn't had the best of luck so far this season, basically.
Yeah, he's got himself involved in a few incidents in the first couple of races. Few of them, you can say, racing incidents are not really anyone's fault. The drivers will just be setting their strategies now, which is going to be very important. Maybe just keeping your tyres alive just until the rain starts could be also important. And Chris doing that lap on the medium tyres might just allow him to go long enough into the session to stay on his first set of tyres until the rain comes. But he will still have to make 2 pit stops. And I think a few drivers, if it is going to be heavy rain towards the end of the race, might be thinking to go from slicks, intermediates, and then to wet tyres as their final stop.
Yeah, I think that would be the reasonable strategy if the heavy rain is coming at the end, towards the end of the race. I don't see why people won't be going onto the wet tyres to possibly get an advantage as we're about to go off on the formation lap. Just a thank you to our sponsors, Next Level Racing, before we get underway this evening. They will be providing a wheel stand to the winners of each driver's championship. So the champions of Podium, Precision and Pinnacle, I believe, will be receiving a wheel stand from Next Level Racing. So a massive thank you to them for letting this happen.
Yeah, definitely. They do a great job providing equipment for the champions of last season and this season as well. Just look at the tyres that everyone is going to be starting this 31-lap race on. Got those in the top 10 we knew already, with Rich, TC and Truth all on the softs. Outside the top 10, we've got quite a variant. We've got 5 drivers on hards: Dexter, Catboy Key, Gazaman, Stevie Hart and Riley. And then we've got 4 on the mediums: Alex, Zach, Jess Gamer and Indecisive. It's always interesting when you see this varied tyre strategies with all 3 different compounds being used. Can lead to some extreme pace differences, especially around a track like this where the soft tyres wear out so quickly.
Yeah, definitely. I think these guys running the hard tyres are definitely gambling on the rain coming later rather than sooner, so they're hoping that it comes just after those medium tyres go off and they're forced to pit. So that's their call for the strategy. The medium tyre runners will be hoping that the rain comes just in time for their tyres going off, and the soft runners are definitely going to have to pit before the rain comes out, because, as you said, the soft tyres don't last very long around Singapore.
Yeah, it could be 2, maybe even just 3 laps for those that have been on the soft tyres before they have to come into the pits, and that might all change with an early safety car. Do not be surprised if we see one around here. We've got Gazaman 15th at the moment, ever the consistent driver in the red ball. He scored points in every race so far this season. He's going to need to come up for something special from 15th place if he wants to continue that. Liam, can you look past anyone other than Chris to take the victory here tonight?
Chris is looking to be the favourite, but I wouldn't be surprised if Eva, Hannah, Nikki or Jonas is up there to push him for that race win. So I think it's between them 4. It's too close to call in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. It should be a fascinating race. Eva Hannon did say earlier that he was aiming for pole position. He didn't quite get that, but he is aiming for the race victory as well as he pulls in to his grid slot in 4th position. But the final drivers just lining up now at the back of the grid. All the heartbeats rising. It's going to be a long race for these drivers, and the rain will definitely spice things up at Singapore. The lights now coming on. 2, 3, 4... 5 lights are on. They've gone out and we are racing here at Singapore. It is a good start from Chris. Rich not getting away too well. Actually, he's got a better run on the second phase. He's having to go at the inside. Oh, he spun round. Rich has gone around. TC and Eva Hannon making their way through that battle. We've got someone moves further down the field as well. But Chris away from the lead. TC gaining from that. Eva Hannon in 3rd. Aaron and Jonas Ulrich battling side by side through turn 5. No DRS, obviously, at this point of the race. Aaron is going to have the inside for turn 7. They're still going side by side. In the background, you've got Nikki and Astronauty battling as well. But Jonas Ulrich just holding on to that position for now. But it's Chris, TC and Eva Hannon getting away. I've got to say, Liam, initially it didn't look like Rich got the best start, but once the grip of them tyres caught up, he allowed him to get away a bit further, but it just caught on the inside of Chris, and we've seen how easy it is to spin once that happens.
Yeah, he got didn't get the best of getaways, but the grip of the soft tyres allowed him to gain on Chris, and it allowed him to try and send it up the inside into turn one, which is not the best spot for an overtake. It is quite a quick corner, turn one here at Singapore, so it's not the best place to go for a move. If you're wanting to make a move, you're better waiting till the end of the main DRS straight.
Yes, definitely. So that has cost him big style. You can see losing 17 places. Some of the other big losers on that lap were Truth and Catboy Key, both dropping 3 places. In fact, Catboy has now dropped another place behind Indecisive Mark. Big gainers on that lap. Riley moving up 5 places, and Alex Lilliart as well, up into 9th position. Jess said she was thinking a few drivers could score their first points of the season tonight in the pre-race interviews, and a teammate looking pretty good at the moment in 9th position. But at the moment, Chris, TC, Eva Hannon, Aaron and Jonas Ulrich, your top 5 positions at the end of lap 1.
Yeah, good to see Aaron back up fighting in the top 5 once again, so this could be, he could be on for his best result of the season if he can remain in the top 5, as I think Catboy Key is having some Wi-Fi issues. He keeps struggling to rejoin into his car, so that is rather unfortunate for him. It's quite close between the top 8. All of them were within a second of each other. Well, 4th to 8th are all within DRS range of each other, so that will prove quite an interesting battle to see what happens, as we've got the likes of Truth NRP and Riley getting close together with Dexter, so got a couple of trains forming already, so
yeah, Dexter on those hard tyres. Dexter on the hards, Zach on the mediums, Truth NRP on the softs. Didn't serve him too well on the first lap, but he's trying to use the grip in them right now, expecting to maybe have to come into the pits shortly though. DRS will be active next time around, as Zach nearly went deep there heading into turn 14, but just about recovered it. Up ahead though, Chris looking like he's checking out already. Pretty similar to what we saw last week in Austria, to be honest. He was mighty in the first couple of laps there, and after the safety car restart. TC doing well on the soft tyres though. He's got a second away from Eva Hannon at the moment. That's going to be crucial. DRS will be enabled next time around. One man who is going to look to take advantage of that is going to be Jonas Ulrich, just pulling out the slipstream slightly into turn 1, reminding Aaron that he is there.
Yeah, we'll definitely be seeing a move up the inside or run the outside into the tight left-hander at the end of this main DRS straight, and he's got the DRS open, overtake mode engaged. He's going to fly around the outside of that kink, up the inside into the left-hander with an easy move on Aaron, and it's going to let Nicky have a run on Aaron as well, but Aaron closing the Renault driver off there.
Yes, Aaron deciding that he'd lost 1 place, and that was enough for the Ferrari driver. So Jonas Ulrich moving up into 4th position. Eva Hannon will be his next target, though Eva Hannon will be trying to close up onto the back of TC as well. Further back, there's still a lot of close drivers. Catboy Key has rejoined. He's currently in 16th place. We've still got all 19 runners, which is good to see around a street circuit, especially one as unforgiving as this. Rich has made the first of his mandatory 2 stops to move on to the medium tyres. I imagine that was also to repair some of the damage he may have got in that collision with Chris. How did you see that, Liam? I saw it fairly similar to what we saw in China between Eva Hannon and Riley. It's just one of those things where if you tap the inside of another car, the physics on this game just seem to send you spinning around.
Yeah, I think it was a racing incident in my opinion. It's the first turn on the first lap of the race. He got to try and get the position. He was quite unlucky that I don't think Chris saw him until quite late, really, so I think if he saw him go for the move, he would have left him space, as Nicky has done the exact same with Aaron, tapped the inside of that Ferrari and been put into the wall now. He's going to have to be very careful when rejoining the track here. The Renault got front wing damage already, so not a great start for Nicky this evening.
Yeah, Nicky is going to have to come back all the way down from what is now going to be 16th place, just getting out back ahead of Catboy Key, and with that damage got a long way to go around this circuit. But we've seen Nicky pull off a recovery drive before at the French Grand Prix round 2. Hopefully he'll be able to do it again for his sake. His teammate in second place at the moment, still keeping that gap above a second to Ivahanen, which is all important for him. And Aaron has actually been passed by Astronauty in all that. So Astronauty moving up into 5th position as he just taps the back of the Mercedes, does Aaron. We've also got a battle at the moment between Dexter and Zach Jarvis. Those hard tyres really not looking in too good a shape at this moment in the race, and Zach even trying to get down the inside there into turn 13. We've seen these battling all race long with Truth NRP just behind. Zach goes for a move. That wasn't really on our, I don't think.
That was a bold attempt, considering the door wasn't really left open there, so a bit of an ambitious move from the Toro Rosso driver there. I think he might have a bit of damage. Yes, he does. He has a bit of damage to his front wing, so trying to get past that Alfa Romeo as soon as possible. Alex Florian running well in 8th place for the moment, on course to score racing points, first points playing position of the season here, so a solid race for him so far.
Yeah, he'll be just hoping to keep it calm. Still a long way to go, obviously. We're only on lap 5 out of 31 with Chris 6 seconds ahead at the front of the field. And TC, those soft tyres, I think they're now starting to wear out. Ivahanen catching up in 3rd position. Last race, the first time Ivahanen hasn't got a podium, and he won't be doing that too often. You get a feeling he's been mighty so far. He'll be hoping to get past TC as soon as possible, because the longer he gets stuck behind the Renault, the quicker Jonas and his teammate Astronauty will be able to catch up.
Yeah, for sure. He wants to get past that Renault ASAP, but I don't think he'll be able to get past until maybe turn 1 or possibly even the second DRS straight. So it's going to be a nuisance trying to get past the Renault in front of him.
We've got a retirement, Jess.
BSC, yeah. Jess retired.
I did see a yellow flag, and it looked like Jess had actually gone straight on at turn 8, but she's now retired. We've got a VSC, not a full safety car, so I think TC will be hoping this lasts for a while and he's able to get around to the pits and maybe get rid of those soft tyres. So luckily, only a virtual safety car.
Just going past on board with Nicky there, and Jess is in the barrier there. So I'm not sure what has happened to the racing point there. So maybe she lost traction and ended up in the wall. I'm not sure because we didn't catch what happened there. So we'll have to wait and see what Jess says.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with Jess. A bit shame for her. She said she's not a fan of street circuits, and that's proved to be the case. BSC has ended, so we're back racing again. DRS enabled once again. TC did take advantage of that to pit, but I think it ended pretty much as he was pulling into the pit lane. So Ivahanen has moved up to 2nd place. Jonas Ulrich 3rd. Astronauty 4th. Aaron in 5th position. He's got DRS on the Mercedes in front of him, but not able to do anything at this moment in time. Kingan in 6th place. He'll be pretty happy with his performance in the Williams. He's got a point in the last 2 races, but only for having the fastest lap outside the top 10. Hasn't finished inside the top 10 since France, so it's good to see the Williams back and somewhere near his best form.
Yeah, it's great to see some of these drivers who haven't had the best start to the season starting to pick up form later in the season. It's always good when you see someone who's struggling start to pick up the form and show off just that they've got the pace, and they're not as, and they've just probably had a bit of bad luck. So yeah, it's great. We've also got the Racing Point in a train with Dexter, so those hard tyres may be looking to be coming into temperature at the moment as he's hounding the back of the Racing Point.
Yeah, I'm just looking.
Alex Lilliard with Zach Jarvis not far behind either. He's just reminding Alex that he is there into that chicane, going under the bridge here as they're going into the final couple of corners. This is the really challenging final sector of the track. Will Dexter be able to get the move done into turn 1, or will he have to wait even longer? So here he comes. He's got the DRS open, overtake mode engaged. Not quite close enough into turn 1 as Alex makes a mistake and goes very deep. He's going to let the Alfa Romeo pass there, possibly trying to get the DRS for the next straight. I'll have to wait and see what happens here. He's not got the best of runs through that corner, but the DRS will make up for that. But I don't think he is quite close enough. Yeah, he's definitely not close enough to make the move on Dexter, but enough to hold off Zach Jarvis behind, as Riley and Aaron picked up a couple of penalties there.
Yeah, we've seen a few penalties. That is unsurprising. Nicky, fastest lap of the race with a 1:40.1 on those fresh medium tyres after he's made his first pit start. We've seen Stevie Hart, Truth NLP, TC coming as well. Catboy Key just went straight on there in the final sector. That brought out the yellow flags, but thankfully he is able to continue in the Haas down in 16th place at the moment. Zach, he's trying to get past Alex here, and I think he's actually done it at the hairpin just after the Anderson Bridge. Very opportunistic move by Zach. Alex trying to fight back around the outside. That's going to go deep, and that might give Riley the opportunity he needs, but the Alfa Romeo is just too far behind. Zach definitely not hanging about at the moment, as Riley's tapped the back of Alex.
Gaza's tapped the back of the Alfa Romeo there, so Gaza is extremely close to the back of these two, so any mistakes that happen from the two cars in front will promote Gaza back into the points paying positions, so keep an eye out on what happens here into turn 1. Riley's probably going to have the move done down before turn 1 possibly. He's not going to make the move, he's going to be patient enough and possibly even send it. Yeah, he's going to be waiting for that second DRS straight. But that's not helping him, as Gaza is now right up the back of him, so this has given the advantage to Gaza here. If he can get the run off of this corner, he could possibly get both drivers in front of him.
Yeah, we'll have to see what sort of run he gets. Riley, he's already gone down the inside at turn 6, and I think he actually tapped the wall there as Gaza tries to go all the way around the outside of Alex Lilliard at 7. He's got better grip on those medium tyres, and it's fairly straightforward for the Red Bull driver, who is back into the points, and you can just see how much Alex is struggling. If you look at the timing tower on the left-hand side, he's lost about 5 seconds to Dexter in the space of about 1.5 laps there, so Alex's medium tyres, he doesn't seem to be doing too well on them at the moment. We said maybe 10 laps the most they'll be able to last, especially in this early stage of the race where the cars are heavy with fuel, of course. Further up the field though, Aaron's still all over the back of Astronauti. They've dropped Kingan slightly in the Williams, but Jonas Ulrich pulling away from these guys ahead. It's all staying fairly spread out at the front of the field apart from this battle for 4th position. Could we maybe see an undercut from Aaron, or are the drivers going to try and stay out until the rain comes?
I think the logical decision would be to try and stay until the rain comes, but if you can get the advantage of getting an undercut and possibly even catching right back up to these guys, I don't see why not, depending on how late the rain is going to come in the session. So it's the looming threat at the moment, the rain, so we'll have to wait and see how things play out.
Yes, definitely. We've been told to expect light rain definitely at the 20-minute point, transitioning to heavy rain by 45 minutes, but we're not quite sure the exact timings. We're on lap 9 at the moment, so the drivers will have done about 15-16 minutes of this track, and it's still looking very dry. Problem is, of course, being a night race, we can't really say whether the sky looks overcast or not, so that's just making it maybe a bit harder for the drivers to predict when it is going to rain at this point in the race. Alex has now dropped back to 12th position behind TC, who's moving his way up through the field on the medium tyres. Gazaman still behind Riley for this battle for 9th and 10th position, with Zach Jarvis trying to escape the two of them.
Yeah, Gaza and Riley locked in a battle for 9th position at the moment, possibly one of the closest battles out on track. But the second closest battle out on track apart from Aaron and Astronauti. Aaron's still trying to find his way past that Mercedes in front of him. Got the gap to about 7/10 at the moment, but we're going to have to wait and see what happens here, as well as with Riley and Gaza. Riley close enough to the Toro Rosso ahead to get the DRS off of him, so that's going to compromise Gaza a bit, as he's not going to be able to use the DRS to get past Riley.
Yeah, definitely. And TC might find it a bit hard to get past some of these guys if they're all going to be getting DRS of each other. The Renault catching them up already. He's currently in 11th place. He'll be hoping to dispatch these guys pretty quickly as Riley looking very racy at the moment. All over the back of Zach, who has been on those medium tyres since the start of the race. He's got a much better exit coming out of 3, heading through 4 into 5. Zach's going to run wide. Riley's going to get the move done comfortably, and he's going to have the DRS for good measure as well. So that is Riley up into 8th place, and Zach might be losing another place here to Gazaman, who thinks about chucking one down the inside but decides not to go for it. And TC, of course, with Gazaman getting the DRS, he's going to find this a bit difficult. And in fact, has Riley gone into the wall there slightly because he went very wide at turn 9?
I think Zach Jarvis tried to send it back up his inside and tap the back of the Alfa Romeo there.
Yeah, thankfully it looks like no damage has been caused. We've got yellow flags again in Sector 2, and I think that's just Mac and Truth NRP who might have got themselves caught up, and Truth has got big wing damage on his McLaren. He's actually letting Mac by, so that is the battle at the moment for 14th position, and Nicky just behind. So both Renaults finding themselves caught up behind drivers on slower tyres, and that is always a risk when you have to pit in the early stages, getting caught behind traffic, even more so.
A few drops of rain now. It comes. If you go on board with the Renault, you can see a few drops of rain coming off of the halo there, so
yeah, I can just see a few drops as well coming onto the camera lens. So those on the medium tyres are going to try and stretch it out another lap or two at least, I think, until maybe intermediate tyres. They're going to need it to rain quite a lot, as TC's got a fantastic exit coming off the final corner. Goes down the inside of Gazaman heading into turn 1. Gazaman able to hold off on that Red Bull. Those hard tyres have plenty of life in them yet, and he is holding on to this position. This is just costing TC lots of time to those ahead. He was in 2nd place before the pit stop.
He does hit the wall. TC's going to have the run down the straight. I imagine he'll send it up the inside in through turn 6. Close enough, yeah, he's going to get the move done up the inside. The Toro Rosso of Zach Jarvis struggling quite a bit here as TC's going to get past it as Zach Jarvis goes into the wall, struggling quite a bit on his braking, and that makes him go straight on into the wall.
Yeah, thankfully he's able to continue. I think he already had some wing damage before that, but now a lot of damage to the left-hand side of that car. We've got yellow flags in the final sector, and that is Jonas Ulrich, and Aaron's out of the session. Aaron has had a big shunt there. I'm not quite sure what happened, but we've got another virtual safety car. I saw a yellow flag for Jonas Ulrich, and now Aaron out of this race. A 2nd retirement, another virtual safety car. Are we going to see a few of those leaders pits? We've got Chris coming in, and the intermediate tyres are out at Red Bull.
Yeah, Chris taking the punt on the intermediates already. I don't see why he shouldn't. VSC condition, probably the perfect opportunity for a free pit stop onto those intermediate tyres. Even though we haven't had the signal saying DRS is disabled yet, I believe it is quite enough time. It is about the right time for intermediate tyres to be the right tyre for the track at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. Catboy Key and Stevie Hart have gone for it as well. Eva Hannon's coming in the pits. A lot of drivers coming in, and Kingan is struggling like mad on those medium tyres. He'd already spun under VSC conditions. So I think most drivers are now going to be heading into the pits for the intermediate tyres. It's going to be a battle of the pit crews. Jonas Ulrich maintaining his advantage.
Truth NRP's off. Truth NRP has gone off, and it looks like, I can't exactly see where it is. It's at the end, it's at turn 14 he's gone off, so I'm not sure what's happened to him. He looks to have gone straight on into the barriers.
Yeah, I think these old medium tyres on some of these cars combined with these conditions, because it is really starting to come down.
Yeah, he's sliding through some of these corners at the moment. It's going to go almost going straight on again, and he's hit the barriers again. So yeah, very dodgy conditions at the moment. Stevie Hart out on the intermediate tyres, so that will possibly gain him a few positions at the moment. Everybody now on the intermediate tyres. Chris has got his gap up to a whopping 23.5 seconds. So he's almost got an entire pit stops gap over the car behind.
This has just been a mighty performance from him at the moment, up in the lead, 23.5 seconds ahead of Ivahanen, who's also 12 seconds ahead of Jonas Ulrich. And you can see what starting on the soft tyres has done to TC13. He's already had to make 2 pit stops, and he's currently only in 6th position. We'll have another look at the positions that have been gained by a few of the drivers. Riley up 12 places, Gazzaman has gone up 6, Riley's teammate Dexter up 6 positions. So it's been a great start to the race from those Alfa Romeo drivers. This rain, though, is really coming down hard. I think wet tyres are definitely going to be needed towards the end of the race.
Yeah, definitely. The wet tyres are going to have to come out towards the end of this race. And this would be, well, we've only ever had one wet race around Singapore, and it was 2017 when Vettel, Raikkonen and Verstappen collided on the first lap going into turn 1, which people say was the demise of Ferrari's title challenge that season.
Yeah, definitely. Some even say it was the start of the demise of Sebastian Vettel, because things really haven't gone well for him and Ferrari since that infamous race. All the drivers managed to keep it at the clean pretty much at the start of this race. We did have Rich spinning around, but no retirements until we saw Jess lose it in the first couple of laps. Aaron, only a few laps ago, which caused the VSC where everyone pitted for those intermediate tyres. We're on lap 13 here, and it is Chris in the lead of the race. You can see who has done the pit stops there. So both Reynolds have done 2 pit stops, as have Rich, Stevie Hart and Truth NRP. This is going to be a very interesting race now. It's going to be quite easy for a lot of drivers to pick up penalties in these stages, because we've seen how much they're sliding around already, and it looks as though the rain is going to be coming down hard. Wet tyres almost certainly going to be needed, which will be good news for those who've only done 1 stop, of course.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to put into the hands of those people who've done 1 stop perfectly. I'm positive these guys at the back of the field will be praying for a safety car towards the middle or end of this race, just to throw a bit of a spanner in the works for these front drivers and give them a chance.
Yeah, Chris, he'll definitely not be hoping for a safety car with the lead he has at the moment. He's already lapped Stevie Hart and Truth NRP. I don't think it'll be too long before he's on the back of Indecisive either. Currently on board with Riley in the battle for 6th position, with TC just ahead, losing the rear end slightly coming out of the hairpin at turn 13. We've got Kingan. He's not too far back either at the moment, so he actually lost quite a bit of time in that pit stop period. Both Alfa Romeos gaining pretty well at the moment. Gaza, he's another driver who lost time, so Riley gained a lot in that pit stop period because he was just behind. He was not too far ahead of Gaza and Zach heading into that pit stop. We've got yellow flags again, and that is Alex. Sole remaining racing point. He's gone straight on at turn 14 as Indecisive has retired from the session, and there is that safety car.
Well, I called it the previous lap. Looks like he's missed his braking point and gone straight on at what used to be the Singapore sling. So I'm not sure what's happened. He might have hit the inside wall, I'm not sure. As Alex Lilliard picks up a drive-through for speeding under the safety car, so not great for the Racing Point driver, who was on for a good points haul earlier on in the race. So is he going to be able to get his damage repaired this lap, or is he going to have to go through it and then get his damage fixed?
He'll be able to get it fixed this lap because he won't be able to serve his penalty under the safety car, so he's going to drop right to the back of the field. We are seeing a few drivers, I think, come into the pits for wet tyres, and one of them is Dexter. This could just prove to be a masterstroke from the Alfa Romeo if he can keep these wet tyres in good enough condition, because if the track is too dry, they will just overheat, and by the end of the safety car period, he'll be needing to come in again.
Yeah, definitely. It's a pretty big risk from Dexter, so we'll have to wait and see if this pays off. We've also got Catboy Key, who's in for the wet tyres, as Even Hannon picks up another penalty. I'm not sure how you pick up penalties under the safety car though. Alex Lilliard going back out on the intermediate, so not quite at the back of the field, sitting in P14 at the moment. Only got 2 wet tyre runners for the moment.
Chris is headed into the pits though, and he's put another set of intermediates on, so he's just getting his second pit stop out of the way and sticking onto the intermediate tyres. Bit of a gamble there. If it was forecast to rain heavier at the end of the race, he's confident that he can get those intermediates to the end and with enough tread on them to clear the water away. Eva Hannon coming in. He's going for a full set of wets, I believe.
Yep, full wets back on that. I've been bolted onto the Mercedes, so will Chris respond and come in again for the full wet tyres?
Well, the safety car has now picked up Chris, so you can just see him there behind the Mercedes safety car. This gives us a perfect opportunity to actually talk about how some of the drivers felt the safety car restarts have been going this season, because some of the drivers have said they've gone okay and not done too bad. As I'm just looking at the answers, we've got many of them. Astronauts is making a point that there hasn't been many safety cars. Jonas Ulrich saying he's done well, but a few of the drivers have actually said they've struggled under safety car conditions getting the restart perfect, and that is going to be even harder with the rain coming down as it is tonight.
Yeah, safety car restart is always proves quite the challenge for drivers, so we'll have to wait and see how things pan out for them. As Dexter's saying, Dexter's saying they have to be decent. Jess was saying hers were pretty bad, so she'll need to improve on them. Stevie Hart saying they're non-existent, but Indecisive Matt saying they could be better, but he's going to try and avoid incidents. But a shame he is also out of the race, so not the best for him either.
Yeah, we've seen how tricky turn one can be in nice normal dry conditions with both Rich and Nicky going around. Imagine what it's like with 16 cars barreling towards turn one in the wettest conditions they will have driven in all race. It's going to be pretty exciting, as Dexter's actually nearly lost it there on the wet tyres. He did hit the wall and he's damaged his front wing. That's how little grip there is there out at the moment. They're really struggling to keep it on the circuit, even on wet tyres.
Yeah, the rain looks to be absolutely chucking it down at the moment, so I think these guys might have been right for the wet tyres, as we've got a few more drivers saying how their safety car restarts are, with Nicky saying his safety car restarts are really bad, so he'll need to work on them as well. So, well, a few drivers, but Jonas saying they were strong safety car restart, so he could be one to watch come off the safety car restart, so he could challenge Chris possibly into the braking zones.
Yeah, we've got now Stevie Hart's actually been disqualified from the session, it says here, for ignoring yellow flags. Still seems to be driving around.
Not sure what's going on there.
I have seen a few times the game has sometimes just come up with these phantom disqualifications, but he looks to still be driving around perfectly normally. We're now halfway through the race, lap 16 out of 31. We've had 3 retirements so far, with the latest one of Indecisive Mac bringing out the safety car. We've got a mix of drivers on different tyres with intermediates and wets, and you've got to say Eva Hannon in the box seat at the moment to get maybe his 4th victory out of 5 races. Highest placed driver on those wet tyres.
Yeah, definitely. I think by the time some of these back drivers catch up to the safety car, it will be time for the wet tyres, so I think they've made the right call stopping for wets, and I think Chris has made their own decision voting on another set of inters, so if I was them, I would be in that pit lane ASAP for a set of wet tyres.
Interesting you say that, because Catboy Key has just come in again for, I believe that is his 3rd pit stop of the race, yeah, and he's put the intermediate tyres back on. So this is, I think it might be down to personal preference these days, because remember, I believe it was Monaco like 2016, they had people running intermediates in monsoon conditions, so the intermediates are really designed to be the wet tyres these days, so it could be either tyre really. Yeah, the intermediate tyres have always been almost a catch-all tyre. They're brilliant in anything but absolutely torrential rain and flooded track, and even in dry conditions they are fairly handy as well. So it's Chris, Jonas Ulrich, Eva Han and TC. He's gained a bit in that safety car period with some of the drivers ahead pitting. Riley, Kingan, Astronauti, Gazaman and Dexter as they're now seeing that is Truth heading into the pits, I believe. So is he going to ditch these wet tyres as well and put on another set of intermediates? It's all very exciting once it rains in Formula 1. You can almost see why Bernie Ecclestone wanted sprinkler systems at every circuit.
Yeah, one of his many crazy ideas, but sprinklers at an F1 circuit, now that's quite an interesting one. I mean, you'd have to keep it secret from the teams though, and just turn them on whenever you felt like it, just to throw a spanner in the works, surely.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's pretty much what's happening next week with Kieran and Austin in the charity race, because they get to decide the weather conditions.
Please remind me about that, because I will be racing in that, and it's going to be absolutely terrifying not knowing what the conditions are going to be for Hockenheim.
I think it's fairly safe to assume there'll be rain, or maybe they are assuming that everyone is assuming that it's going to be wet, and maybe Kieran and Austin will just feel nice and make it dry conditions at about 35 degrees so you blister everyone's tyres, but you'll have to wait and see until next week. Safety car still out on circuit, I think primarily because it's taken such a long time for everyone to catch up. This might be the final lap of it, I feel.
I don't think it might be. We've still got quite a few drivers to catch up to the back of the safety car, because I think everyone has to be on the back of the safety car before we can restart the race, so yeah, definitely we're going to have to be waiting, so we're going to have to fight. We're definitely going to be, next week is definitely going to be interesting. Well, you were right actually, it's the safety cars in this lap, despite there being certain cars like halfway around the circuit. I'm not sure what's going on with these front runners at the moment. They're just parking side to side at the moment, rolling around the circuit.
Yeah, Chris is taking it easy very early on here. The safety car is allowing to get away. It's only the top 9 who actually caught up to the back of the pack. I think Nicky, Zach and maybe Alex might be able to get close to the back of the pack before the restart, but the rest are going to find themselves losing out. We've got the 2 Mercedes on the wet tyres, Nicky and Rich as well, and there's going to be 15 racing laps, we hope, once the race restarts. Jonas Ulrich, a man who said his safety car restarts have been strong, he's all over the back of Chris. Nicky's got a penalty for a severe collision. I imagine they'll get that removed unless they have to pit again, and they are off. Chris has gone for it. He's trying to catch Jonas Ulrich by surprise on those intermediate tyres. In fact, he's nearly lost it coming onto the straight. We are racing once again. It's been a perfect restart from Chris. Ivahanen not able to take advantage as Nicky is out of the race.
I'm not sure what's happened to the Renault driver there. Whereabouts was the shunt? I can't quite see whereabouts it was. Where's his teammate?
I'm not sure if that's just heading into the pit lane or anything that the Renault has retired. But anyway, Nicky out of this race as Truth's gone around, but he's able to continue. So it's still Chris.
It still says Nicky's continuing on, so I'm not sure what's happened there. His car's pulling off the side of the track now. Truth, as you said, Truth NRP losing the back of the car there. But Stevie has not been the best debut for the Ferrari driver, has it? He's struggling quite a bit, miles back.
Sorry to interrupt, Ivahanen's gone round. Championship leader on the wet tyres is in the barrier. He's broken his front ring and he's going to drop outside of the points. It's a nightmare. Maybe it's not ready for wet tyres just yet because he has gone around. I agree with what you said about Stevie Hart. He said he wasn't expecting much. I think he'll just be happy to still be on circuit at the moment. And the way some of these cars are dropping, that could be good enough to get yourself in the points.
Yeah, especially if the championship leader is dropping it. So I think he definitely looks to have made the wrong decision on the wet tyres, but maybe it's just that, unlike his teammate, he wasn't able to keep the tyres in the right temperature range. So Astronaut, it looks to be going on at the moment, just soldiering on, but he's got Dexter all over the back of him, so struggling on the wet tyres. Both Mercedes look to have made the wrong strategy decision here, along with Rich as well.
Yes,
he's out on the wets, and his Catboy, he's got past him, so looks like it's definitely not time for wet tyres just yet.
Yeah, Astronaut is heading into the pits. I was going to say, I think Dexter was the first man to put on the wet tyres, and he's now swapped back to the intermediate, so maybe Chris has pulled this off perfectly, changing to the intermediates, because he does not have to pit again. The ones drivers who have to pit, you can see Jonas, Riley, Kingan and Gazaman all still having to pit. Astronautis, he's headed in to the pit lane for the third time. The pit crew's definitely getting their money's worth here. He's put the intermediate tyres back on as Truth is out of this race. I think he's just retired in the pit lane by the looks of things. So we've only got 14 runners. Ivahan, new front wing, intermediate tyres on. He is going to come out in 13th position with only Stevie Hart behind him. He'll be hoping for another safety car to try and salvage anything from this race.
Yeah, definitely. Chris looking to be pulling away again, but not as dominant as he was earlier in the race. He's not got the same gap, but he is pulling away from Jonas, showing his prowess in the wet conditions, just like he did in China. So keep an eye on him. He looks to be the wet weather specialist this season.
Yeah, definitely. He might be able to treat himself to a few Singapore slings at the end of this race, because he has been fantastic so far today. Stevie Hart, he's also coming to the pits. Interestingly, he has put the wet tyres on. I don't think anyone is sure what's happening. This is one of them races where the strategists just stick their hand out of the window, see how much it's raining and go from there. Riley getting himself a 5-second penalty for exiting in track limits. I was on board with him there. He definitely had all four wheels off track, but that seemed a bit harsh, so maybe he'll be able to recover that. He's all over the back of TC. The Alfa Romeo team yet to get a podium, and until that penalty, you have to say he was looking good. And Gazaman is not too far behind them. He's always there. We've said that all season. Gazaman is always there or thereabouts. Could he make it 2 Red Bulls on the podium?
Could possibly. He's always one of those drivers who always seems to go unnoticed for most of the race, but pops up in a point-scoring position every week. So he's consistent, and that's why he's one of the better drivers. Well, that's why he's one of the best in the podium tier. He just sticks in the points every week, and you can't seem to dislodge him from that point-paying position.
Yeah, he's always there, and he is catching up to the back of Riley and TC. We've seen Alex coming in to the pits from what was 9th position. That'll be for his drive-through penalty, so that is going to drop him out of the points and promote Astronauti up into 10th position. Stevie Hart spun round on his fresh wet tyres, but he's been able to continue. He's now got the leaders closing up to the back of him. I'll be very surprised if we finish this race with the 14 cars we've got at the moment. 12 laps remaining. Chris, Jonas, TC, the top 3. It's been a very impressive debut, though, you've got to say, from Zach. Everyone around him has been in the wall, you seem to feel. Most of the drivers struggling with these wet conditions, but he's doing well. 8th position at the moment. Him and Stevie Hart will be happy that they're just running on their return to One Hub.
Yeah, definitely. Especially in these conditions, you'd be really happy just that you're still in the race at the moment. Because if you go on board with a car, the rain looks a lot heavier than it does from the spectator cams. So yeah, definitely. It's questionable.
And especially if you go on board with a car that is stuck behind another car, as we are doing with Dexter and Kingan at the moment. The spray, combined with the lights as well at Singapore, the glare of them just makes it a little bit harder. Chris earns himself a 5-second penalty, so he might have to be careful as he's now 5 seconds ahead of Jonas Ulrich, who seems to be dropping back from the Red Bull, but just keeping that gap at 3 seconds ahead of TC and Riley at the moment. Riley, I imagine, also wishes that there was DRS in the wet conditions, but for understandable safety reasons they're not able to do so. He's staying in 4th position at the moment. Both Alfa Romeos finding themselves behind other cars as they try to move themselves up and get the team's best results of the season.
Just checking the penalties there, Luke, and Jonas does have a penalty. He got one on lap 12, and he's on 2 warnings at the moment, so he's not far off his 2nd penalty of the race. Chris only got that 1 penalty, with TC only on 2 warnings for the moment. So TC penalty free at the moment, so even if Riley does get past him, he's going to have to pull away quite a bit if he wants to keep that position.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be a very impressive job by anyone tonight who can manage to keep penalty free and score in the points. We've seen one pop up for Eva Hannon as well, as he's trying to close up for Rich. Both drivers finishing 4th and 5th last time out in Austria, and they're currently 12th and 13th with only the Ferrari of Stevie behind them. Will you imagine any of those who've already made 2 stops pitting for the wet tyres at the end of the race? Or do you think it'll only be the likes of Jonas, Riley, Gazza and Kingan who have still got to do a pit stop? Will they put the wets on in the final few laps?
Well, it really depends on how quick the wet weather, the heavy rain comes, because if it doesn't come quick enough, I imagine everyone will just stick it out on the intermediates. But if it comes within the next 4 or 5 laps, I can see quite a lot of people diving in for those wet tyres to try and gain an advantage.
Yeah, especially maybe those outside the points like Alex, Rich, Evahan, and maybe they'll try and gain something because they haven't really got a lot to lose. We'll have a look at the fastest laps at the moment, because given these rain conditions, as Gazaman is heading in now in the Red Bull from 5th place, making his 2nd compulsory pit stop. We'll follow him around. I will get those fastest laps.
Cautious.
I will get those
Very
fastest laps
cautious on
up.
Yeah.
Chris with the fastest lap in the top 10 and Rich with the fastest outside the top 10, and it is intermediate tyres again for Gaza.
So he's banking on the rain, the heavy rain not coming too early in the session, so he's got to gamble on it coming later, so we'll see how that pays out for him. The only one in the pits this lap, it appears to be Gaza. Chris pulling away the gap, already up to 8 seconds to Jonas. TC floating around about 2 seconds behind Jonas, with Riley about 5 tenths behind him, still looking for a way past the Renault in front of him.
Yeah, Riley can now just fully concentrate on the Renault of TC, who's looking for his 2nd consecutive podium of the season after a 3rd last time out, as Jonas drifting his way there through the Singapore sling. I don't think he'll be wanting to do that too often in these conditions. He got away with it though. Great car control from him. Gazaman coming out in 9th place, just behind Catboy Key, so he'll be trying to work his way up the field. Could still get some very good points in this race, especially when you consider those who have to pit again. Jonas, Riley and Kingan, 3 of the top 4 have to pit. Rich and Stevie Hart, 4 times they've had to be in the pits. I think it's safe to say this is going to be a Singapore Grand Prix to remember.
Yeah, definitely. It looked like Gaza was going to be setting up Catboy Key for the move there, but not quite. He wasn't able to get the run there into turn 14, but he might have it into turn 14. Gets the run out of the hairpin. Is the straight long enough? It doesn't look like it, but he's going to send it up the inside, get the move done into turn 14. And he's got into the barrier there. So he has misjudged his braking and gone straight on. So that is going to be another pit stop for the Red Bull driver. So,
and that is a virtual safety car, and it's come just after TC has gone after the pit lane. Bad timing for him. Perfect timing for Riley though. He's able to pit now for the intermediate tyres. He's got a penalty though, so he has to serve that in the pits.
Yeah, he's got a 5-second stop go as the intermediates going back on, Kingan in for another set of intermediates. So, well, this could possibly put both Alfa Romeo drivers in the top 5 this evening, so that would be a great result for them. Not quite the podium they want, but a double top 5 finish would be more than ideal for them.
Yeah, definitely. In fact, TC has made 2 stops. Apologies for that. It's Jonas who has got to pit again. That virtual safety car really coming out at a bad time for him. We are going green. Again, Gazaman, he's had to pit. Again, obviously for that damage. And that promotes Alex Lilliard into the points. We've got Zach, Catboy Key and Alex who have not scored points so far this season. All in with a chance if they can just keep going for the next 9 laps. It's Chris 10 seconds ahead of Jonas Ulrich, with TC further 2 seconds behind, but Jonas does have to pit again. Does look like we could get an Alfa Romeo on the podium, or maybe even a debut podium for Zach.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be one to remember, and we forgot to mention earlier that the Precision tier is now live, so if you want to go and tune into them. Alex going very wide there, but yeah, Pinnacle Precision tier is now live. They'll probably be coming to the end of their qualifying session very soon, so feel free to tune in with them if you like, but we would appreciate it if you stayed here with us.
Yeah, definitely. Why would you want to miss this race? Because anything could happen at the moment. Precision live now with Sam and Austin. Sam taking over from Owen for this week, and Alex, he'll be hoping it doesn't start raining too hard because he's going to have Pinnacle to do in 40 minutes time. Can he hang on to his first point of the season. He's doing a good job at the moment, but the one man he wouldn't want to have closing up to him is Ivahanen in the Mercedes, currently 8 seconds behind with 8 laps remaining. It is Chris 10 seconds ahead, and it doesn't look like the rain is getting any heavier, so I think those on the intermediates might be able to last it till the end.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not sure if Alex has served his drive-through, but I think he definitely will be safe from Ivahanen behind on penalties, with the Mercedes driver picking up quite a few over the last 10 or so laps. So, not been absolutely disastrous for him. Luckily, his teammate is going to be might be able to salvage a couple of points in 9th position here.
Yeah,
but other than that, we've not really got many people close on track for the moment.
Yeah, you've got Zach, he's about a second behind Dexter at the moment, so this might be the battle to watch for 4th and 5th. Mercedes, they'll be happy getting 2 points. It will be enough to maintain their huge championship lead at the moment. They are currently 67 points ahead of Renault, but Renault will be scoring some points with TC. Obviously, McLaren getting some good points with Jonas, and Red Bull currently in 3rd. They're looking good to move into 2nd, with Chris heading for 25 points at the moment, as Zach going very deep there. There's a few of these cars struggling on these intermediate tyres. In the last few laps, it could be very spicy with the rain getting heavier and the tread on these tyres wearing thinner and thinner.
Is it just me, look, or would you say that if you go on board with, say, Dexter or Zach, would you say the rain's getting lighter?
Well,
sorry, Ivahanen's spun again, has he?
Yeah, Ivahanen's gone away. He's making a right Vanganathan of this 3-point turn, I have to say. He's in 12th place, no front wing on the Mercedes, so he's definitely going to have to pit. It is going to be null point for our championship leader this time around. Alex looking pretty safe in 10th place now. Guzman 12 seconds behind, but I've got to say, it doesn't look as heavy as it did under the safety car. I'm not sure if that's just because we've got less drivers directly in the spray of everyone else, and that's giving us the illusion it is lighter, or whether it is definitely getting lighter, but things not looking as heavy as they were earlier on. We've still got Jonas Ulrich to pit, of course. Hopefully he remembers that he has to do 2 starts, because we've seen a couple of drivers in precision get disqualified as Ivahanen is out.
I think he might have retired on track, possibly. I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see. Or he might have just it looks like into turn 14. I can see a bit of debris, so he might have, well, considering he had no front wing, he might have just misplaced his turn in, or not slowed down enough and just ploughed on into the barrier.
Yeah, I think he might have just plain understeered into the wall. He is now the 6th retirement of this race. We knew Singapore was going to be a test of endurance, and in the wet it is even tougher. But Chris still in the lead, 13 seconds ahead of Jonas, who has to pit. TC just a second behind. He's pretty safe from Dexter and Zach Jarvis battling for 4th and 5th position at the moment. And Chris, he'll be pushing fairly hard, of course, to try and keep his concentration up, but he won't want to push too hard. He's looking fairly safe. We've seen a few drivers sometimes in the wet, when they're a long way away, just relax a bit, and it is so easy to get it wrong, especially around a street circuit as this.
Yeah, definitely, especially in the rain like at Singapore. It's going to be a difficult challenge to keep it to keep it going, as Stevie Hart had a half spin going through the old Singapore sling, it looks like. So, not the best from the Ferrari drivers, but he's still able to keep it going.
Yeah, and a bit of a nightmare for TC, as it says he has left the session, so his AI car is now driving around. Maybe we might see Dexter get into 2nd position here, with the fact that Jonas has to pit. So TC, hopefully for him, he'll be able to get back on. Otherwise, he might find himself losing out on a potential 2nd position here. Chris, TC has actually got back into the session. That's good for him. Chris, he's now coming up to the back marker of reach, 14 seconds ahead at this point in the race. Dexter pulling away slightly from Zach at the moment. All the drivers, you've got to say, apart from TC and Jonas before that, looking fairly spread out. And in fact, I think TC, he might be back, but I'm not sure he's got control of his car yet. So hopefully sooner rather than later for his sake. Otherwise, he'll have Dexter and Zach all over the back of him.
Yeah, definitely. You don't want to be out of your car for too long. That can definitely ruin your race, being stuck out of your car. As we don't really look to have too many battles go.
Zach nearly lost it, heading down the back straights in between turn 13 and 14. I think he's really struggling. I think the rain might be coming down harder. He's damaged his front wing big style here. These older intermediate tyres might just be struggling a bit now.
Yeah, the rain looks to be coming down harder now. It might have lightened off a bit, but it's definitely starting to hammer it down now. As he went under the bridge, did you see that the barrier was poking out a bit? I believe that was from Truth NRP when he hit the barriers. So the barriers not in the correct position. That could cause a hazard for anybody who's not paying enough attention.
Yes, definitely. TC is now back in control of his car. That's good news for him, but it's cost him around 4 seconds to Jonas Ulrich. Zach, he's just trying to fight on. Soldier on for another 5 laps with that broken front wing. He's looking good for a 4th position after Jonas pits. Maybe, though, Riley might be able to catch up. Things looking very good for the Alfa Romeo team at the moment. Further back, I said Alex was on course for his first point. Looks like Gazaman is trying to be the party pooper. He has closed that gap to 4 seconds at the moment. And on the much fresher intermediate tyres, it wouldn't be surprising as the rain comes down harder if Alex finds it harder and harder to maintain that 10th position.
Yeah, all he's got to do though is keep that car pointing in a straight line and keep it just on the track and survive for as long as possible. But Gaza's got a penalty now. Well, is sitting on 1 penalty along with Alex as well, who I'm not sure if he might get the penalty for not serving his drive-through or not, but we'll have to wait and see.
I think he has actually served his drive-through earlier on. I imagine the game might have black flagged him by now if he hadn't have done, because usually you do have to serve that within 3 laps, and I do remember him coming into the pits, and I don't think he changed his tyres, so hopefully he served his drive-through, but he's finding it really hard at the moment. Gazaman on those much fresher intermediates, reeling in the racing point to try and make it 2 Red Bulls in the points. Zach not losing too much time at the moment, you've got to say, despite the damage on that front wing. He's keeping the gap to Riley fairly constant, but that could be a battle to watch in the final few stages, as we do see that barrier that Truth NRP kindly replaced earlier on in this race. 4 laps to go though, and it is Chris 17.2 seconds ahead at the moment.
Gaz is about 1.5 seconds behind Alex Lilly at the moment, so Red Bull driver closing up rapidly on the racing point in front of him. So that's a battle to watch for these last couple of laps.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see him closing up. He's got that gap down remarkably quickly. It's only Jonas and TC with older intermediate tyres as Catboy keeps headed into the pits.
I'll keep an eye on what tyre it is. It looks to be another set of intermediates going on to the Haas.
Yes,
as well as the front wing change.
Another set of intermediates, front wing change that promotes Astronautic up into 8th position, and I don't think Catboy Key is going to be very close actually with Alex and Gazaman. I think he's going to come out just behind them, but he's going to have much fresher tyres, so that's both of these drivers into the points, now 9th and 10th position. Can Catboy Key get back into the points and get his first point of the season? He is the sole Haas driver tonight. Further up the field, Dexter slowly closing in on TC, who seems to have lost a bit of momentum after that disconnection. The gap at the moment is 3 seconds exactly as I last checked, and it is coming down ever so slightly, so not content with finishing 3rd after penalties maybe. And of course Jonas still has to pit. He's going to have to head into the pitch sooner rather than later, otherwise he's going to get no points.
Yeah, definitely. You don't want to forget the 2-stop rule, because we've had a couple of drivers do that in the past before, forgetting the 2-stop rule, and it's led to them being disqualified. You've got to remember the 2-stop, as Gaza now only 4 tenths back from the racing point of Alex Lilliard, so we'll keep an eye on this. He might get the move done very soon.
Yeah, he didn't get the best exit there coming out of that hairpin, and Alex just pulling away ever so slightly. He's going to be far enough ahead to keep it safe into turn 14, so I think turn 1 might be the next chance that Gaza gets. He's tried to go down the inside there, just slightly scare Alex into running wide, but Alex is a wiser man than that as the Pink Panther's heading on. He has actually ran wide there, but he'll have the inside for the next corner and can hang on for another day. Gaza, for a second, I thought was going to chuck one down the inside there. I'm not sure with that barrier sticking out, you'll be able to get 2 cars through the exit of that corner anymore. But Alex really struggling on his intermediate tyres, and this will just allow Catboy Key to catch up to the pair of these drivers.
Alex is coming in for some reason. I'm not sure. Not sure why he's coming in, but he is. It looks to have stopped raining. Catboy Key's in as well. It looks like.
Yeah, this is interesting.
The track looks pretty much dry, to be honest.
Are we seeing slick tyres? We are seeing slick tyres coming on
slick
here.
Tyres.
So we might see a bit of a one
Catboy
towards
Key on the
fastest laps.
softs, Alex on the mediums, so it'll be interesting to see who will be quicker here.
Yeah, you'd expect Catboy Key to obviously be the quickest, and his tyres will warm up, but we'll have to wait and see how this goes. And there's
DRS
the answer.
enabled.
DRS enabled? Maybe that's why Jonas wasn't pitting, because if it's bone dry now, he can just come in, do those 2 laps on the soft or medium tyres. We've been saying this as if it's going to be staying wet until the end of this race. Jonas has pulled a blinder out here.
Chris is in as well. I think he saw it as well, so...
Yeah, Chris is in for soft tyres.
Everybody's going for the fastest lap.
We've got a yellow flag. I'm not sure if Gazaman just went wide slightly, but he's going to drop a few places here by not pitting. We'll have to wait and see as TC's carrying on at the moment here on these intermediate tyres.
I don't blame him. There's 2 laps to go. I can see why he wants to just hang on.
Yeah, he's trying to hang on. Zach, he's trying to hang on to this as well. So are they going to gain enough time on those slick tyres to gain any position? So at the moment it's TC, then Chris, Zach in 3rd place. Jonas is going to come out in 4th. Kingan, he's carried on as well. Riley and Dexter. In fact, there's a bit of a queue going on here. I think Riley had to queue behind Dexter. Both Alfa Romeos coming in. Astronauti carrying on those intermediate tyres. Will be interesting to see whether that'll be worth the pit stop, because obviously they're going to have to gain a lot of time. Although Chris is all over the back of TC already. Just look how much grip he has got down the inside into turn 10.
Yeah, Chris showing just how much grip these slick tyres now have compared to those wet running tyres. But TC, I think he's got a big enough gap to the car behind of Zach to hold it off for another lap and a half. But the question is, will Jack be able to hold Jonas off for long enough?
Yeah, I think Zach, he's gone for the gamble here, and I don't know whether he's going to pay off. If I were TC, I'd be more worried about punctures, as we've got yellow flags. I think he's actually gone straight on. TC is really struggling on those intermediate tyres. They've done 18 laps. They've got no tread left on them, and they are not coping well in these dry conditions.
So only a lap left. All he has to do is hold on. Jonas 10 seconds back, but I imagine he will reel that in quite quickly. But yeah, he's going to have to just hold on now.
Yeah, he hasn't really got a choice now. Jonas has got past Zach, and he's pulling away quickly. Gazaman, he went an extra lap longer than anyone else, and he made a few mistakes on that lap. He is now outside of the points, so it doesn't look like he is going to be scoring any points here today. Dexter all over the back of Astronauti, another driver to hang on for those intermediate tyres. I can see why they did it so late on, but you can just see they've got no git. Astronauti trying to hold on round the outside. There's a wall there, lads, be careful. And Astronauti has to back up, staying into 7th position at the moment. But Jonas, he is catching up to TC, you know, he might pass him.
Catboy Key has passed Alex, but Alex has got a big enough gap to get so that he should be able to hold on to that point paying position.
Yeah, there's Jonas in the
Jonas on the back of TC. He's going to send it right up the inside there. What a move from Jonas, launching it up the inside of the Renault there.
Just look how he pulls away on acceleration out of that corner as well. There is nothing TC can do, but he will be able to hold on to that 3rd place. I suppose he didn't really...
might catch... Riley might catch Astronauti here. Astronauti struggling. The gap down to less than a second here. Whoa, that's very aggressive from Astronauti. They're trying to squeeze Riley. It's a bit questionable, but the Alfa Romeo through his teammate, now trying to hunt down King and ahead of him. The gap about a second.
Yeah.
Now, will Dexter get the move done here, or will he wait and do it into the hairpin?
I think he's going to get the move done because Kingan's got no grip whatsoever. But a man who's found all the grip on this racetrack is Chris. He takes his second victory in a row. He wins for Singapore Grand Prix. Fastest lap on the final lap as well, just for good measure. 26 points for the Red Bull driver here today. And we'll watch on board with Dexter because he is closing fast up onto the back of Zach as well. And with the rate these drivers are catching, it's so warm
Riley's
obviously here.
Riley's gaining on Keegan, so this is going to be a very close end to the race here. It's going to be a mad dash for the line. Keegan really struggling. Riley most likely going to get
Zach's gone
past
straight
him
on. Zach has gone straight on as Riley gets past Keegan. Zach reversing onto circuit. King drops behind Kingan as well, so Kingan loses a place and gains one in that corner, so he's going to be 6th. Jonas came across the line in 2nd.
Comes a line in 4. Riley coming through the last corner now, across the line to take 5th position, but what will it be on penalties, considering he had a lot of those? Here comes Kingan, and it's going to be 6th place for the Williams. Astronaut up to 7th.
Yeah, Zach is gone around the gate. He's really struggling to get to the end.
Yeah, he's almost got no front wing, it looks like, so it's just a matter of getting to the end before Catboy Key catches him. It's going to be close.
So close!
Oh, he's gone again!
Catboy Key having no choice there.
Oh my god, this is crazy.
Yeah. Zach's also just about crawling across the finish line. In fact, he's got a rear left puncture. I think he just got into points. We saw Alex getting 9th place, getting his first points of the season and the first top 10 finish for the Racing Point team. So well done to them. But once again, Chris was absolutely mighty and a well-deserved victory from the Red Bull driver. That is 2 in a row. And obviously with Eva Hannon not finishing, that's really going to stir up things in this championship.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to throw a spanner in the works, especially considering, like you said, Eva Hannon not finishing the race and struggling, it looked like, quite a bit with keeping his tyres in check in these wet conditions.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to force Chris up into 2nd in the championship. He's now going to be only 16 points behind Eva Hannon. Take you now through the provisional classifications because there were a lot of penalties in that race, and it wouldn't surprise me if a few of the unserved ones get removed in the stewards. It's Chris with a victory. You can just see how long that race took. Over an hour. We said Singapore is always a test of endurance. Nearly 20 seconds ahead of Jonas Ulrich. TC 34 seconds off the lead. Dexter and Riley, the 2 Alfa Romeos, with by far their best results of the season, in 4th and 5th. Kingan 6th, Astronaut in 7th, Catboy Key, Alex and Zach all getting their first points of the season. Gazaman missing out for the first time in 11th. Rich, 6 pit stops, started in 2nd, it's down to 12th. Disappointing day for the Toro Rosso driver. Stevie Hart, he'll be glad to just finish his first race of the season. And then Eva Hannon, Truth, Nikki, Indecisive, Aaron and Jess Gamer were the retirements. Liam, driver of the day.
I'm going to say it's got to be one of the Alfa Romeo drivers. I'm going to say Riley, considering he started last and he's got a top 5 finish. What a result for Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, an absolutely fantastic result for them. Do you know what? I'm finding it a bit hard today. I think I'm going to have to go for the obvious choice. Chris just drove superbly. He was so quick in qualifying. We know there's been a few glitches, but it wouldn't surprise me if he was on pole position anyway with the pace he's been showing. Just controlled it in the race, had to pull out a huge lead at the start. Safety car closed it down. It didn't affect him. He just pulled out a massive lead again. So I'm going to go for, some would say, the boring choice, given he started on pole and finished first.
I'm surprised you haven't gone for Riley's teammate, who also put on quite the race as well.
There's plenty of drivers I could have gone for. I mean, Catboy Key, maybe just for that avoiding action at the end of the race on Zach. It's his first points as well. But like I said, Riley gained a lot of positions. Chris winning from pole position and looking comfortable. There are 2 nominations for driver of the day. And we said Singapore always throws up to surprise us. I don't think we quite expected that sort of race. We went dry, wet, looked like full wet conditions almost at one point, and then back to being bone dry again at the end.
Yeah, it was quite the crazy race, and definitely one to remember. Too bad we don't have an overtake of the week competition, because I believe that overtake for from Catboy Key on Zach on the final lap at the final corner would definitely be it.
Yeah, definitely. Zach, obviously, with a puncture, with no front wing left, just managing to get across the line. He did get a point in the end, so he'll be wondering what might have been, but can't complain too much, getting his first point of the season. Very interesting race for the 5th time this season. The man from Powell has won here in the podium tier, and that makes you think it might have been a bit of a boring season so far, but it has been anything but, and we can't wait for it to restart with the Canadian Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time. It is the charity race next week with Kieran and Austin taking over that, and Liam will be driving in that. And if you want to hear Austin's dulcet tones, you can hear him now in the podium in the precision tier alongside Sam, where if you haven't had enough of wet Singapore action, I suggest heading to the precision tier right now. But for myself and Liam, thank you so much for joining us. Big thank you to our sponsors, Next Level Racing as well, and we will see you both in a couple of weeks. Good night.